Hey guys, welcome to the channel. As you see in the thumbnail, what if Luffy proposed Boa Hancock for marriage during Rayleigh training? Before I start, please do support for more awesome content, and subscribe my channel and like this video. Go support and follow the kodyakcombs for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story. Link in the description. On the maiden island of Amazon Lily, the most beautiful woman in the world, Boa Hancock, was surrounded by a group of women. Considering she was the empress and idol of the island, this wasn't anything extraordinary. It was what Hancock and these women were talking about that was strange. Snake Princess, Snake Princess. I believe you should give him meat. He's always happy to receive meat. That's a good idea. Men love meat, so it should be fine. One of the girls gave a suggestion, and the other girls agreed with it. Meat. It's true, he adores meat, and he's always happy when he's eating it. Hancock was seriously considering the girls' Marguerite's suggestion. Sigh. Snake Princess, I've told you over and over again. A birthday present must come from the heart. Anyone can give him meat. If you want Luffy to hold you dear in his heart, you must give him something special. Granny. Elder Nyan's words caused Hancock and the girls around her to start to think again. And then, how about special meat? Oh, that's a great idea, Marie. Hancock stood up from her throne and spoke with a commanding tone. Everyone, gather all the high-quality meat you can find. Bring me only the rarest of rare. Hey, listen to your elders. If you look behind Hancock, you would see a banner saying Luffy's birthday present committee. That's right, Hancock and the others were having a meeting to decide a birthday present for Luffy, who was still training on an island off the coast of Amazon Lily. Just to note, this meeting has been going on for days now. The fact meat was the only thing they could think of shows how much romance experience they have. Well, then again, Luffy and romance just don't mix. Snake Princess, listen to me. For the final time, giving meat to Luffy won't make him love you. Silence, old woman. I know my man more than anyone. Luffy is his happiest when eating meat. Well, she isn't wrong. I just call Luffy my man. Hancock stammered as she blushed for some reason. Kaya. Snake Princess is so cute when she's blushing, declaring Luffy as her man. I didn't know you were so bold, big sister. Marie, Sonia, don't tease her too much. That's what love does to a woman. Marie, don't tease me so much. It's to be expected, since we're husband and wife. Hancock cutely wiggled her body with a flushed face as she spoke. Meanwhile, Elder Nyan, what kind of wife gives her husband meat for his birthday? Silence, old woman. Before I feed you to the panther, Hancock spoke while bending her back backwards, and pointed at the elder. It was her famous pose. No, you must listen to me, Snake Princess. Luffy is already an infamous and notorious pirate. Not only that, there's women in his crew. If you don't act swiftly, someone might swipe him up, and then he'll never give you the time of day. You'll be left all alone and be abandoned. Be abandoned. Hearing the elder's words, Hancock started to imagine the situation. Luffy, please don't leave me. Hancock stretched her towards Luffy, who was walking away into the light. Luffy stopped and looked back with a handsome face, and spoke. Sorry, Hancock. But I'm married now. I no longer have time to play with you. As he spoke, a faceless woman walked up beside Luffy. He wrapped his arms around her. He spoke again. Come, darling. Let's go home. The kids are waiting. He and the faceless woman started to walk with their arms entangled. They waved at three faceless kids wearing straw hats. Luffy. Hancock stretched her arm out to Luffy. But it was too late. Luffy and his family disappeared into the bright light, leaving Hancock all alone in the darkness. Luffy! Don't leave me! Hancock shouted as she sobbed on the floor. Luffy! Hancock grabbed thin air when her delusion came to an end. See? Just imagining it alone brought you to tears. Hancock wiped the tears from her beautiful blue eyes and spoke. Luffy won't leave me. It's already decided that I will be his wife. She tried to compose herself, but it was obvious she was still shaken up. Decided by who? By the gods up in the heavens. And most importantly by me. So, you're just going to force your will on Luffy? And no, I would never force my will on Luffy. In fact, I would prefer him to force his will on me. Kaya! What are you making me say, old woman? Hancock whispered the middle part of what she said as she blushed and wiggled her body near the end. Elder Nyan, on the other hand, this child is helpless when it comes to love. She thought to herself. Listen, Snake Princess. If you continue to gawk at Luffy from afar, you'll be nothing but a stalker. 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 Stalker! Stalker! That word echoed in Hancock's mind over and over again, before she spoke up with an angry expression. SSTA stalker! How dare you, Granny! You're calling my passionate love for Luffy stalking. Guards, feed her to the panther, Hancock roared. None of the guards moved to apprehend Elder Nyan. They were too afraid of Hancock to move. Snake Princess, what I speak is the truth. If you're serious about being Luffy's lover, then you must make him appreciate you. Not as a woman who gives him meat, but someone who is irreplaceable to him. Elder Nyan raised her staff as spoke. Irreplaceable. Hancock's mind once again began to wander. Hancock. Handsome Luffy held her in his arms and looked deeply into her eyes. Luffy. Hancock released a sweet voice as she shyly turned away from Luffy's passionate stare. Hancock, don't look away. I want to see those beautiful eyes that holds the world in them. Handsome Luffy used his hands and gently made Hancock meet his stare head on. Luffy. Hancock, I don't want anyone to call you Pirate Empress anymore. Why not? Handsome Luffy smiled and then spoke gently. Because when I become Pirate King, you will become my irreplaceable Pirate Queen. Oh, Luffy! Hancock fainted on her throne as her delusion came to an end. It looks this will be a running gag for her. Ah, she gasped and looked around her when she finally came to her sense. Granny! She quickly got off her throne and grabbed Elder Nyan by her shoulder and shook her. Granny, are you telling me that you can make me Luffy's Pirate Queen? Hancock shook Elder Nyan with so much strength that she was unable to speak properly. I can. But you'll have to obey my every W word. Hearing Elder Nyan's response, Hancock let go of her collar and began to blush and wiggle her body, while chanting Luffy's Queen over and over again. Cough. Cough. Now, Snake Princess. You must listen to my every command. You mustn't disobey them no matter what. If you're able to do that, I promise you Luffy heart will be yours. I am. Hancock salute Elder Nyan, as if she was a solider saluting her superior. The girls found it cute, but Elder Nyan found it a bit creepy. I guess it can't be helped. Since I'm the only one on this island that has any romantic experience. Oh well, this is for the Snake Princess' sake. If Luffy gets married to someone else, she will definitely close her heart to the world once again. With such a thought in her heart, Elder Nyan began to explain her plan to Hancock. 3 days after the meeting, Boa Hancock had arrived on an island near Amazon Lily. Snake Princess, good luck. Make Luffy happy. I can't wait for your wedding. Hancock could hear the cheers of the Kuja pirates behind her as she descended from her ship onto the island. Snake Princess. Hancock heard a distinctive voice and turned around to face the ship. What is it, Elder Nyan? Remember what I told you, stick to the plan no matter what. Yeah, I'll definitely make Luffy mine. Hancock had a determined look on her face. Seeing that, Elder Nyan nodded with a smile. Well, see you later, girls. Let's celebrate the engagement between Luffy and myself when I return. Saying so, Hancock ventured into the island smiling while listening to cheers behind her. After a while, Hancock could no longer hear the girls. They most likely already left the island waters. Hancock was walking alone. She passed a lot of trees and wild animals along her way. She already had a destination in mind. She was heading towards Luffy. Hancock had used hockey to locate her beloved when her feet touched the ground. Since then, she has been heading in his direction, with a beautiful smile on her face. Luffy, it's been too long. I can't wait to see your handsome face. I can't wait to breathe the same air as you. I can't wait to see the same scenery as you. I want to hear your voice. Unknowingly to Hancock, she starts skipping halfway through her sentence. She looked like a teenage girl madly in love. She could sense that Luffy was extremely close. She looked in front of her and saw an open space. She saw a flash of black hair. There he is! Hancock was literally running to get out of the forest. And when she did, Luffy! Your future pirate queen is here to celebrate your birthday. Hancock held her hand up in the air, and had a big smile on her face as she announced her arrival. However, Luffy, roar! That hurt, you damn gorilla! Roar! Hey, that's dirty! Ganging up on me, when I'm hungry! Grr, that's it! We're not friends anymore. I'm going to turn you into my breakfast. He was battling a giant gorilla, a giant crocodile, and a giant lion. He didn't realize that Hancock was also on the island. Hancock's presence was being completely ignored. Normally, someone would get upset, even a little. But Hancock, so majestic. She responded to her being ignored with a cute shriek. Let's switch to what Hancock was seeing. Instead of Luffy trying to savagely eat the monsters, Hancock saw this. Alright boys, let's have a manly contest of strength. Handsome Luffy's muscles were glossing as the sun shone on him. His handsome face had a gentle smile. His eyes were bright and calm. He didn't look anything like the real Luffy, whose eyes were savage and wild. Ha ha, that's it. Don't give up. Let's have fun, guys. Handsome Luffy was having a gentlemanly pushing competition with the animals. The animals looked as if they were laughing and having fun. In Hancock's eyes, it looked like Luffy was gently instructing the monsters, even helping them up when they fell to the ground. Ha ha ha, I knew you could do it. Meanwhile, back in reality, Luffy had mercilessly beaten the monsters into a pulp and was preparing to cook and eat them. HMO Hancock. That's when he noticed Hancock standing in a daze. Hearing Luffy's voice brought back Hancock to reality. But by the time she was aware of her surroundings again, Luffy was already standing right in front. Oh, Luffy! Hancock shyly hid behind a tree on instinct. What's wrong? Hancock, you sick, your face is all red. And no. I'm fine, she spoke behind the tree. For some reason, Hancock was reluctant to look at Luffy. It's just that I haven't seen you in a long time. My heart isn't ready. Hancock whispered most of her sentence, but it didn't matter since Luffy wasn't paying attention anyway. Luffy walked over to the monsters he had beaten up and spoke to them. Listen up. I won't eat you this time, because you're my friends. But try and attack me in my sleep again, and your dinner. Got that? The monsters nodded obediently to Luffy's words. More like, they just didn't want to get eaten. Now, shoo! I need to talk to my friend. The monsters quickly ran away, and Luffy faced Hancock again. What are you doing here? Hancock, didn't old man Rayleigh say you weren't supposed to be here? Ha! Hearing Luffy's question reminded Hancock of the plan the elder gave her 3 days ago. Listen, Snake Princess. Because Rayleigh forbids women from entering the island, you weren't able to visit Luffy as you please. But the situation is different now. What do you mean, Granny? Behind Elder Nyan was a chalkboard, and on that chalkboard was a simple diagram. It showed Rayleigh and Luffy on one side and Hancock on another side. Elder Nyan used a stick and pointed at Rayleigh and Luffy's side. Even though Rayleigh was the one who forbid you from entering the island, that same Rayleigh left the island last week. Meaning, Elder Nyan rubbed out Rayleigh's name and pointed at Hancock's. Meaning, there's no longer anyone who can stop you from seeing Luffy. Really? Hancock excitedly stood up from her seat. Yes. But there's still one problem. Problem? Who is it that's standing between me and my love? Luffy. Hearing an unexpected answer confused Hancock. Why would Luffy be a problem? Think about it, Snake Princess. The reason why Luffy is desperately training to become stronger is because he wants to be able to protect his friends. Because of that, the normally scattered brain Luffy is now completely focused and will follow Rayleigh's every instruction. I see. Even if Rayleigh is no longer on the island, Luffy still won't allow me to get in the way of his training. That's right. But there is a way. How there is? There is. Elder Nyan spoke as she drew on the chalkboard. The main objective of Luffy's training is for him to learn the forms of Haki. And it just so happens that you've mastered the forms of Haki. Get to the point, Granny. Hancock was getting impatient. All you have to do, Snake Princess, is train Luffy. Train Luffy, how will that win his heart? Elder Nyan showed Hancock the diagrams on the chalkboard. There was a bridge drawn between Hancock and Luffy. Under that bridge was the word training, and above it was the words closer relationship. Even though I say training, that's just an excuse to stay with him for a while. I see. If I use the pretense of helping him with his training, he would allow me to stay. Hancock got excited from the thought of being with Luffy alone on the island. But Granny, I don't want to lie to Luffy. The thought of deceiving Luffy saddened Hancock. Naive. You're too naive, Snake Princess. Elder Nyan suddenly started to write on the chalkboard like a madman painting a portrait. Listen, Snake Prince. All is fair in love and war. She was writing exaggeratedly. All the girls there started to read what she wrote, as she formed every syllable. Lo, v, is, a, bat, tli, fi, eld. Elder Nyan slammed her chalkboard and then declared with a loud voice. That's right. Love is a battlefield. And on a battlefield, you show no mercy. Even if your opponent is your beloved. Oh, all the girls were dominated by Elder Nyan's passion. If you still feel guilty, you can just train him for real. That way he will be really grateful towards you, and as the days go by that gratefulness will develop into love. Hancock. Why, yes, back to the present. Luffy saw that Hancock was daydreaming and called out to her. She flusteredly answered. After a few seconds, she composed herself and said her lines perfectly. I'm here because I heard Rayleigh left early. So, I thought maybe I could help you finish up your training. You may not know this, but I've mastered all forms of hockey. And also, I'm an excellent teacher. I don't know. Oh, I also brought you some expensive meat. Teacher. Before Hancock could finish her sentence, Luffy grabbed the meat she took from her sleeves out of her hand, and bowed down like a student showing respect to his master. I'm glad that I brought this meat as a backup. Hancock happily clenched her fists behind her back. She blushed as she watched Luffy munching on the meat. Oh, I almost forgot. Hancock remembered that her goal still wasn't reached. Luffy, Luffy answered with the meat in his mouth. He looked like a savage, but to Hancock, he looked charming. Talking to Luffy made her heart race. Could you show me around the island? Sure. Luffy finished the meat in a bite and started to walk away. Let's go. Why yes, Luffy. Hancock adorably chased after Luffy's back. And so, Hancock and Luffy's island for two began. It's now been 30 minutes since Luffy and Hancock began their tour of the island. In that short span of time, they've been attacked numerous times by all kinds of beasts and monsters. Luffy. I'm finished disciplining these wild beasts. Hancock, who was stepping on a statue of some kind of giant beasts, cutely called out to Luffy, who was patiently sitting under a tree. That was amazing, Hancock. You took down all of those monsters by yourself. It took me almost a month before I could take down a single monster. You're really amazing. Luffy was full of praise for Hancock. It wasn't that Luffy didn't want to fight off the monsters, it was just that Hancock didn't give him the chance. Every time a monster appeared before them, Luffy would try to drive them off. But before he could, a raging Hancock would intercept them while shouting, "How dare you interrupt my long-awaited date with Luffy," and kick the monsters before turning them to stone. After repeating this several times, Luffy decided to just leave the monsters to Hancock. Hearing Luffy's praises made Hancock blush. It was nothing. I just didn't want anyone to interrupt our DD date. Hancock shyly turned away from Luffy, and spoke while playing with her fingers. Luffy tilted his head to the side and was wondering what was wrong with her. He decided to not pay it any mind and stood up and walked over to her. Well, whatever. Let's go. Luffy patted Hancock and, Hancock. Hancock fainted when Luffy touched her. Seeing Hancock suddenly faint caused Luffy to panic. What I should do? Did a poisonous bug bite her? Luffy frantically looked left to right as if he was searching for someone. I am okay. You just surprised me, that's all. Hancock slowly stood up and pat the dirt off her clothes. Let's continue the tour. What the so you were okay? I was worried there for a moment. Worried you were concerned for me. Of course. You're an important friend to me. I would be devastated if something were to happen to you. Unknowingly to Luffy, those innocent kind words he just said had triggered something in Hancock. I'm important. Let's once again enter the delusional mind of Boa Hancock. Don't make me worry like that. Handsome Luffy held the blushing Hancock in his arms. I'm sorry. It's just that I didn't expect you suddenly touch me like that, Hancock shyly answered. Even though it was still the middle of the day, the place was dark and Luffy and Hancock were in a spotlight. What are you saying? Am I not allowed to touch my queen? Handsome drew his face closer to Hancock's and stared into her eyes. Hancock shyly turned away while blushing. Queen. Yeah. You're my important queen. A king should be allowed to touch his queen whenever he wants, right? Yeah. Hancock faced handsome Luffy, with a beautiful smile on her face. So you don't need to get so surprised whenever I touch you. Is that okay, my queen? Handsome Luffy brought his face closer to Hancock's. Yes. Hancock also brought her face closer. Take me, Luffy. I get it. I get it. We'll continue the tour, there's no need to hurry. Hancock was brought back to reality by Luffy answering her shout. She confusingly looked around, and quickly realized that she was daydreaming. She started to blush again and felt ashamed for having indecent thoughts, while Luffy was seriously trying to show her around. Okay. I definitely won't get distracted again, she pledged in her heart. After that, Luffy and Hancock seriously began to tour the island. The island was relatively big, and was filled with all kinds of plant life. There were also some rare animals Hancock had never seen before. Luffy showed her the river with a waterfall, where he caught fish. He showed her all kinds of different fruits, and told her which one to eat and which one not to eat. He learned which one not to eat from experience. They also occasionally ran into monsters, which Hancock mercilessly punished. They were currently on a stroll together, and Hancock was happily humming, On a Date with Luffy. On date with Luffy. Ah, Granny. What a marvelous idea this was. I promise. I'll be a bit more respectful towards you. Hancock was grateful for the opportunity that Elder Nyan created for her. You look really happy, Hancock. Did something good happen? Could it be that you found some delicious meat? Luffy noticed that Hancock was behaving weird but somehow arrived at meat as the reason for her behavior. No. I'm just happy to be here, that's all. Hancock smiled beautifully as she spoke. Is that how it is? Well, I'm kinda glad you're here too. Really? Yeah, it was just me and old man Rayleigh all the time, and a few monsters. But Rayleigh left last week, so I was a bit bored when I wasn't fighting or training. Did you get lonely because you didn't have your friends? That too. I mean, I really miss them. Zoro, Sanji, Usopp, Chopper, Frankie, Brooke, Nami and Robin. I want to see them soon. Luffy had a nostalgic look on his face, seeing that Hancock. I see. I guess you would be happier if you were around them than a stranger like me. She wore a sad expression on her face. Hancock knew Luffy was someone who cherishes his crew mates above all. Even her. Being reminded of that caused her heart to ache a little. But Luffy, stranger, what are you talking about? We're not strangers. He rejected Hancock's statement, without even knowing her thoughts. I mean, you did a lot for me. You helped me sneak into Impel Down. You help out at Marineford too. You even offered to take care of me when I was injured. And, most of all, you allowed me to train on this island. Luffy looked at Hancock, who was walking beside him, and with a big smile said, I already told you. You're a precious friend. Even if I'm not with my crewmates, I'm glad that I'm here with you, right now. Hancock stopped walking and silently looked at Luffy with tears in her eyes. Haha, Hancock, why are you crying? Did a monster steal your meat? Hey, what happened? It's nothing. Something was in my eye. Hancock quickly wiped the tears from her eyes and began to walk again. Thank God, I thought that something terrible happened to you. I'm fine. Sorry to make you worry. They resumed their stroll. Luffy didn't realize, but Hancock's face has been really red for a while now. Even her smile had gotten wider. I'm glad that I'm here with you right now. Those words were replaying in her head, over and over again. Hancock was sure. Even if there was a speck of doubt in her mind, it was gone now. I'm deeply in love with you, Luffy, she said out loud. Realizing what she'd said, Hancock frantically checked to see if Luffy heard her. Awesome! Oi, Hancock. Look, it's a rainbow-colored beetle. It's the first time I've ever seen one. Luckily for her, Luffy was distracted by something else. I'm glad that he didn't hear me, but also sad at the same time. Did you say something, Hancock? No, nothing at all. And, Luffy tilted his head when he noticed that Hancock suddenly being hesitant. That's the time you've called my name, our anniversary, she said while blushing. I'm only, I didn't mean it like that. Luffy looked at the frantic Hancock and tilted his head some more. He then slowly walked over to her. Well, whatever. I forgot to ask. But how long are you gonna stay here? How long, Granny? Said only a week is enough. Granny. It's nothing. Forget it. Hancock almost mistakenly revealed her plan. A week, huh? Hancock noticed Luffy looked like he was pondering on something. Is something the matter? It's nothing. I was just wondering where we're going to sleep at night. The monsters have a habit of attacking you when you're sleeping, so it's safer if we sleep together. Sleep? Yeah? You and me. Who else? Luffy started to wonder why Hancock was flustered all of a sudden. Meanwhile, Hancock. Wah! How could I not realize this sooner? If I'm staying here for a week, of course we're going to sleep together. Could it be that old woman planned for this too? I'm not ready for such a big step. Hancock was holding her head and frantically wiggling her body. Let's go, Hancock. Where to? What are you talking about? To find somewhere to sleep, of course. A few hours later, dusk had arrived. Boa Hancock was relaxing in a river all by herself. She was cleansing her body. Of course, she was in the shallow section near the river banks. She was almost fully submerged in the running water. Only above her shoulders felt the evening air. Sigh. What am I going to do? She had a worried expression on her face. Earlier, Hancock and Luffy went around collecting raw materials to build a place for him and Hancock to sleep. Luffy destroyed trees to use for wood, and Hancock searched for anything that could be used as rope. Rayleigh taught me how to build a hut. He said that anything can happen in the new world and that I should stack up as many survival skills as possible. Luffy said as he used the vines Hancock brought him to tie pieces of wood together. You know, hockey is really convenient. I can just coat my hand in hockey and use it as a hammer. Well, that's one way you can use it, I suppose. Hancock watched Luffy as he continued to build his shelter. Luffy, where do you normally sleep at night? Anywhere is fine. When I was little, my gramps threw me into the jungle. Because of that, I can fall asleep anywhere. Vice Admiral Garp did such a thing. Yeah, Gramps was really strict, Luffy said with a nostalgic smile. I see. It must have been hard. Yeah. But it did make me stronger. So it's all good. After about minutes, Luffy had finished the hut, if it could be called that. It's done. But is this enough for you, Hancock? I mean, you're a princess or something, right? Why, yeah. It's more than enough. Hancock looked at the building with a surprised expression. What Luffy had built was so big that it would better to call it a 2-story cabin than a hut. It was hard to believe that he had built something like that in such a short time. It's our love nest. That was the first thing that came to her mind. This is really happening. I'm spending the night with Luffy. The longer Hancock looked at the cabin, the hotter she felt. Her heart began to race, her entire face turned red, and her pupils became diluted. Suddenly, Hancock found herself really sweaty. What's wrong? Hancock, you look sick. Do you want me to make a bed so that you can lay down? Bed, lay down? I am not ready. Hancock was visibly flustered, which made Luffy retreat a little. For some reason, I was reminded of Nami. Hancock didn't hear Luffy's comment. Her mind was in too much turmoil. I need to cleanse myself first. A bath? You can use the river if you want. There's a waterfall that Rayleigh always uses. I see. Thanks. I'll be right back. And with that, Hancock ran off without a second to spare. She could hear Luffy behind her shouting, "Hey, do you remember where it is? I'll find eventually." And that was how she ended up in the river. Hancock stood up in the water and looked at the colorful evening sky. As I thought. I'm still not ready. Her face was red, and she looked anxious. Luffy, yeah. Hancock was caught by surprise when she got an unexpected reply. She quickly turned around and looked at the river banks. There she saw Luffy looking down on her. Hello, Luffy. Hancock quickly submerged her whole body underwater to hide. What are you doing here? Gasp. Could it be that you couldn't wait until tonight and decided to peek on me? What are you talking about? I came here because there's something I forgot to tell you about this river. What is it? Hancock was visibly flustered. Well, it's here. Luffy had a serious expression on his face as he stared at the water's surface. What's that? The water current suddenly changed. As if to answer Hancock's question, she suddenly felt a difference in the river. Shortly after, she could feel a presence behind her. What's that? Rayleigh calls it the king of the river. A large shadow was visible in the center of the river, and then shortly a giant creature emerged from the water. It was about ft tall. It had gold scales and a long serpentine body. That's what I forgot to tell you about. It sleeps in the day, wakes near the night. Luffy stretched his arm and wrapped it around Hancock's waist. Wah! Hey, Luffy! Don't tell me you're trying to take advantage of this situation. Old man Rayleigh said that I shouldn't fight him. It's best to retreat. Luckily it just woke up, so we can still get away. Luffy swung his free arm to the side. You could see his arm pumping up. His skin became pinker, and steam was all around him. Gear second. Hold on, Hancock. Hey, wait. Luffy. Before Hancock could protest, Luffy had already sped off. Of course, the Hancock was forced to disappear with him. If you listened closely, you could hear Hancock screaming, "My body isn't ready," as she sped away from the river. Back at the cabin, Luffy landed out of the sky, carrying a still Hancock in his arms. Phew. We got away. Hancock, we're here. Luffy spoke to Hancock, who was still in his arms, but he got no reply. Hancock, is something wrong? He still got no reply. But he could hear mumbling something, with her entire face red. So rough. Even though it's our first night. Is this what they call taking the lead? Hancock. Yes. Luffy could feel Hancock flinching in his arms. We're here. Ah, yes. Thank you for saving me. Luffy slowly lowered Hancock, allowing her to stand on her own. Kaya. When she remembered that she was still, Hancock quickly stomped down and used her arms to hide her body. Where's my clothes? Ah, here. I quickly grabbed them before we left the river. Thank you? Could you please turn around? Ah, sorry. Luffy did as Hancock asked and faced the opposite direction. Sorry again. You must have been cold. But you were weakened by the water, and if that monster had fully woken up it would chase after us. And it wouldn't be easy to fight while protecting you. It's okay. I know that you didn't mean any harm. Thank you for worrying about me. Hancock quickly dressed as she spoke. And besides, as long as it's you, I don't mind being seen. She spoke softly as if speaking to herself. But Luffy still heard her. Is that so? Oh. By the way, Hancock, are you hungry? I was just thinking about going hunting. Is there anything you want? I'll just have some fruits. Are you sure the meat here is really tasty, you know? Yeah, I'm fine. As long as you are happy, I'm okay. Okay. Then I'm off. I'll be back with some delicious food. Just wait for me. And with that, Luffy ran off into the jungle, leaving Hancock alone by the cabin. Hancock finished changing and stared at the cabin. He was worried about me. Hancock smiled beautifully, with a slight blush on her face. He built us a home, and protected me from danger. It's like we're already husband and wife. Hancock wiggled her body as the thought of her married life with Luffy floated through her head. I wonder what we should name our children. No, first we should decide how many children we'll have. Hancock skipped over to the cabin and opened the door. I can't wait for our eternity together. Hancock entered the cabin and began extensively planning her married life with Luffy. After an hour or so, Luffy returned with enough food to feed adults. He gave Hancock a bunch of fruits and took the meat for himself. They were now in the cabin sitting on the floor, facing each other. Hey, Hancock. Are you sure you don't want any? Yeah, I'm sure. Just enjoy yourself, Luffy. Hancock smiled as she denied Luffy's gesture. Hancock didn't know, but for Luffy to offer to share his food with someone was extremely rare. It's practically proof Luffy considers her as someone important to him. If Hancock knew this, she would probably jump for joy. Hancock. What is it? I was wondering, what are we going to do tomorrow? Tomorrow. Training. You said that you were going to train me, right? Why, yeah. Hancock had forgotten that Luffy was originally supposed to be training, not spending time with her. Hancock held down her head and felt guilty for tricking Luffy. All I have to do is help with his training while I'm here. Hancock remembered what Elder Nyan suggested if she began to feel guilty. Okay, Luffy. I'm going to seriously train you tomorrow. I'll make sure you'll be able to protect your friends. Really? Thanks, Hancock. You're the best. Luffy quickly stood up and ran over to Hancock and get her. Luffy. Wait. My heart still isn't ready. Hancock's hands were squirming as if she was contemplating whether or not to him back. Luffy quickly released Hancock and held her shoulders. You've really done a lot for me, Hancock. I'm in debt to you for the rest of my life. Our rest of your life. Is that a marriage proposal? Hancock, as usual, misunderstood Luffy. Okay, let's go to bed. Luffy changed the topic as if he didn't hear Hancock. No, he most likely didn't hear her because of his excitement. Why do you want to go to sleep so early? Rayleigh said that the strongest monsters are mostly active at night, but weaken near dawn. He said that until I can defeat all those monsters at their weakest state, I'm not allowed venture at night. That's why I always go to bed early. I see. That makes sense. Luffy quickly stood up and said that he was going to fetch something to use as a bed. He quickly walked out of the cabin and told Hancock he'll be back soon. Hancock sat alone in the cabin. She placed her hand on her chest. My heart is racing. What should I do? I'm still not ready for such a big step. But I don't want Luffy to hate me. Hancock was in a state of self-panic. In fact, she was most likely just overthinking the situation. I'm back. While Hancock was still worrying about what to do, Luffy had returned with two fluffy things under his arms. Noticing the fluffy objects, Hancock. Luffy. What are those? Rayleigh calls them fluffies. Fluffies, yeah. They're these fluffy plants that expands every time you hit them. Saying so, Luffy placed one of the fluffies on the ground and punched the other. And just as he said, it grew double in size. Rayleigh said something about they grow to defend themselves or something like that. All I know is that they make great beds. BB beds, yup. They're really soft. The only downside is that they wither away a couple hours after you pick them. Luffy started to hit the plants to make them grow. Meanwhile, Hancock. He's serious. He looks so determined. But we're not even married yet. She was panicking in her mind. Done. Luffy had hit the plant until it was as big as a king-size bed. Isn't that too big for one person? Is that so? Then we can share it together. Ha! That was the finishing blow. Hancock tumbled over in a dramatic manner. It's no use. There's no way I can stop this. Just take me, Luffy. Take you where? Luffy stood over the heavy-breathing Hancock and looked down at her with a confused look. You act really weird sometimes, you know that. Weird. Yeah. Here. Luffy gave Hancock the king-size fluffy. If you really don't want to sleep together with me, then I won't force you. You take that one, and I'll use the other one. Saying so, Luffy walked over to the door and picked up the other fluffy, and was about to hit it. Wait! Hancock stopped him before he could. In response to her desperate tone, Luffy looked at her with a curious expression. We can sleep together. Hancock's face was entirely red as she spoke. I thought you didn't want to. No. I want to. Oh, okay. I don't know why you look so desperate though. Hancock fell silent for a while, before speaking up. I don't want you to hate me because of my cowardice. Hancock had firmly believed that if she refused Luffy's offer, he would come to hate her. And to her, that's equivalent to death. Because of that, she desperately is trying to please Luffy. Why would I hate you over something like that? I told you earlier, I owe you a lot. There's no way I could hate you, really. Yup. So you don't have to force yourself to sleep in the same bed as me, if you don't want to. And besides, Usopp said that I'm a bad sleeper, and I kick a lot in my sleep. So, it will probably be better if we sleep separately. Saying so, Luffy raised his hand to hit the plant. I don't mind being kicked. Hancock's voice stopped him again. I don't mind being kicked if it means that I can sleep in the same bed as you. I told you, you don't have to force. I'm not forcing myself. I'm saying this because I really want to sleep with you, Luffy. I see. Luffy was confused by Hancock's sudden assertiveness. Then let's do that then. Hancock nodded to Luffy's words. Okay, give me back the fluffy. I'll show you the best way to use it. Hancock gave the plant back to Luffy as instructed. Luffy laid it on the ground, then used his hands to rip a section of it. He then lifted up, and laid under the ripped section. He then rested the ripped section on top of him, as if it was a blanket. When you do this, it's really warm and soft. And look! It reconnects itself. Luffy sat up, to show that the ripped section had once again fused with the plant. Rayleigh explained why it does that. Basically it's a mystery plant. Luffy didn't understand a thing Rayleigh said, so he went with that conclusion. Now you try it, Hancock. Luffy stretched his hand out towards Hancock, suggesting that she should get in the plant with him. Oh, okay. Hancock hesitantly stood beside the plant. She slowly stooped down and ripped a section of the plant. She then did as Luffy and laid under the ripped section. It's like a bed. Yup. Amazing, right? Yeah, Hancock said with a bashful smile. She looked calm on the outside, but in her mind, I did it. I really did it. I got into bed with a man. My heart is beating so fast. I wonder if Luffy can hear it. She was overly excited. Gasp. The fact I'm in bed with, does this mean I'm pregnant now? A friendly reminder. The woman named Boa Hancock was born and raised on an island solely of women. As such, she is ignorant of a lot of things relating to interacting with the opposite. That includes how a baby is conceived. The only thing she knows is that a baby is created when a man and woman sleep in the same bed. Nothing more. Nothing less. I am going to be the mother of Luffy's children. With that thought in mind, Hancock lost sense of reality once again. Mama! Mama! Hancock, who was in an apron, was standing on a ladder and was stirring a giant pot of stew, with a giant spoon. That's when two kids wearing straw hats ran into the kitchen. What is it, Lulu Jr.? Papa's back, said the young girl wearing a straw hat. Really? Hancock climbed down from the ladder and took off her apron, and then fixed her hair. I'm done cooking, so let's go meet him. Yay! Hancock held the kids' hands and left the kitchen. Immediately after, they were suddenly on a beach looking at a giant ship. My wife, I have returned. Hearing the shout, Hancock looked up in the sky and saw someone jumping down towards her. It was handsome Luffy. He gracefully landed in front of them. My beloved wife and children, I have returned from my adventure. Papa! The children ran and happily get handsome Luffy. Junior Lulu. I have missed you so. Handsome Luffy get the kids back with a smile on his face. Luffy, you forgot one, said Hancock, who was holding a baby in her arms. For some reason, the baby was also wearing a straw hat. Ah, Luhan, my little princess. Handsome Luffy stretched out his hands and took the baby from Hancock. She's looking more and more like you every day. Hancock spoke with a gentle tone. What are you talking about? She's as beautiful as her mother. Oh, Luffy. What is it, Junior? The little boy wearing the straw hat pulled his father's sleeve. The one that missed Papa the most was Mama. J. Jr. That's right. Mama kept calling Papa's name in her sleep. She also stared at the sea every day, searching for you. Not you too, Lulu. Hancock looked away embarrassedly. I see. Handsome Luffy made one of his crewmates, who suddenly appeared, hold the baby for him. He then used his right hand to gently stroke Hancock's cheek. Sorry for leaving you alone. It's nothing to apologize about. It was only a week. Hancock still shyly looked away as she spoke. A week from you feels like an eternity. Handsome Luffy gently forced Hancock to look his way. I'm sorry for making you feel lonely. I promise to never leave you alone again. Handsome Luffy brought his face closer to Hancock's. Let me show you how much I miss my queen. Luffy. Not in front of the kids. Kids what kids, eh? Luffy's question brought Hancock back to reality. She turned her head and looked beside her. Were you talking in your sleep or something? Luffy's face was extremely close, and he was staring at Hancock. Hancock could only stare back with her face fully red. She was frozen in place. What's wrong? Your face is red again, and it looks like you're sweating a lot. Luffy placed his hand on her forehead. You don't seem sick. Well, I'm not a doctor like Chopper. Are you okay, Hancock? Hancock was somehow able to nod, but her eyes were literally spinning in her head. Her mind was in so much turmoil that she could hardly think straight. What's happening right now? Why is Luffy's face so close to mine? What should I do? Should be assertive and KK him. I mean, we are in bed together. So it wouldn't be strange, right? I should him, right, Granny? I mean, his lips are right there. But what if he hates because I acted unsightly? Hancock then remembered Luffy's words. There's no way I can hate you. That's right. Luffy already said that he cherishes me over and over again. There's no way he'll hate me. Hancock made up her mind. Granny said that Luffy is oblivious to these kinds of stuff. And as the older one, I should take the lead. There's no time to be scared. I'm the Pirate Empress, no. I'm the future wife of the Pirate King. She resolved herself, and was ready to make the first move. She turned to face Luffy, when, Hey Hancock. Do you want to hear a story? Huh. Luffy was the first one to speak. A story? Yeah. Makino always said that the best way to fall asleep is to listen to a story. Did he think that I had trouble falling asleep? That's so sweet. But wait, Luffy. Who is this Makino? That's a girl name, right? Gasp. Could she be an old flame who you still have feelings for? Am I just a replacement for her? Hancock's imagination is an amazing thing. What are you talking about? Makino is my friend. She taught me a lot when I was a kid, she and Shanks. Is that so? Sorry for being jealous. Hancock whispered the last part. She said that if I had any trouble sleeping that I should listen to a story. I see. That's a good tip. For some reason, Hancock looked like she was pouting a little bit. Apparently, she was disappointed that her resolve was simply discarded like that, while Luffy started talking about another woman. But Luffy didn't seem to realize this, so I was wondering if you want me to tell you a story. What kind? Even though she was a little upset, she still didn't want to put Luffy in a bad mood as well. So, Hancock decided to listen to his story. Especially, since talking to Luffy was one of the most pleasurable things in the world for her. I don't really know that many stories. Do you want to hear about the time I first met Ace? Fire Fist Ace, sure. If it's a story about you, I don't mind listening to it 100 times over. Really? Then, where should I start? Oh, I'll probably need to tell you about the reason why I was dragged to the mountains, and about Shanks. Oh, and Sabo too, Shanks' red hair, Shanks the Emperor. Yeah, him. And I had another brother, Sabo. I'll tell you everything from the beginning. And so, Luffy began telling Hancock about his childhood. His relationship with Shanks, his other brother, his hometown, everything. Hancock happily listened to Luffy's ramblings. She was happy to know more about the person she loved, so she never complained. Even though Luffy talked for the majority of the night, Hancock just kept listening until she fell asleep with a smile on her face. The following morning, Hancock woke up at the crack of dawn feeling refreshed. Luffy wasn't beside her. He had probably gone to fight the monsters that Rayleigh instructed him to. Hancock looked beside her and placed her hand on the spot where Luffy once was. Luffy. I feel like a newlywed wife waking up on her honeymoon. She cutely giggled before sitting up. Oh, it really did withered up. Hancock noticed that the fluffy had dried up, and now looked like a giant piece of paper. She slowly got out of the plant, folded it up, and placed it aside. I wonder if Luffy will be back soon. Hancock noticed a basket of fruits not that far from her. She walked over to it, and took a fruit. Luffy must have picked these for before he left. She smiled while looking at her reflection in the fruit's shiny skin. And then, Luffy is so considerate. I love him. I love him. I love him. She held the fruit close to her cheeks and wiggled her body cutely while she declared her love for Luffy. I'll decorate the cabin for him to show my love and appreciation. Hancock happily skipped towards the door like a little girl. I feel like a housewife already. Saying that, she happily skipped out the door and began her preparations. An hour or two later, Luffy returned from fighting monsters and was welcomed with a shocking scene. "Welcome back, darling," Hancock greeted Luffy with a smile, but his attention was stolen by the cabin's interior. "Whoa! Hancock, did you do this?" "Yes. I wanted to show my appreciation for you allowing me to be by your side," Hancock said energetically. "Wow! This is amazing." Before Hancock had decorated it, the interior of the cabin was quite simple. There was nothing inside except for the fluffies that they used for beds. But now, it was completely different. First of all, the place was practically fully furnished. There was a table made out of freshly cut wood in the center. There was a statue decorated with flowers at each corner. There was a bench with fluffies tied around them, giving them the appearance of a couch. And finally, there were several shelves with small bird statues and vases with pretty flowers in them. "How did you do all this?" Luffy asked with sparkling eyes. "It wasn't hard. Everyone in the Kuja tribe is required to learn multiple skills like hunting, carpentry, fishing, etc. The Empress is no exception. I didn't have any tools, so I used my haki to make the furniture and used my devil fruit powers to create the statues. I made sure to pick the cutest animals I saw for the statues," Hancock proudly explained. She had a big smile on her face. She was clearly happy to be praised by Luffy. "You're really amazing, Hancock." It was nothing. "No, it's really amazing. It's a shame that we'll have to leave the cabin soon and move to the next area." Move why? Luffy's words caught Hancock off guard, and the smile on her face was replaced by confusion. "Why? Because it will be winter soon, that's why." Winter. Yep. Did you forget this island has seasons and the weather changes every weeks? Winter begins today. I know that, but what does winter has to do with us moving? There's a really powerful monster who sleeps most of the time and is only awake when it's winter. It spends most of its time in this area. Monster. Yeah. It's one of the bosses of the island. But it's not like I can't beat it. Then why? I can't fight it and protect you at the same time. You can't protect me. That's right. You may be strong, but you won't be able to fight it without receiving serious damage. The same goes for me. So are you saying that you're worried about me? Yeah? I don't want someone important to me to get hurt. Luffy smiled innocently at Hancock, which caused her to start blushing. But what about our love nest? A love nest? What's that? Our love nest. Our home. Hancock became visually flustered for some reason. Oh. You mean the cabin? We can just leave it? Hancock sighed and thought then we can just return at a later date. But, because the monster will destroy it for us. Destroy? Yeah. Our love nest. Yeah. The symbol of our love, the place where we were supposed to raise our children. I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah. Hancock held her head down, and her body began to tremble. And then, I'm going to kill it. I'm going to kill that monster for threatening our home, Hancock declared loudly. Her face was no longer the beautiful one that can woo men and women alike. It had a demonic expression that would make even the devil flinch. How dare it interfere with our family? How dare it threatens Lulu, Jr., and Luhan's future? Wait. Who are Lulu, Jr., and Luhan? The fuming Hancock didn't answer the confused Luffy and continued to rage on. If it's a crocodile, I'm going to make shoes out of it. If it's a snake, I'm going to make a purse. If it's furry, I'm going to make a fur coat. And if it's edible, I'm going to feed it Luffy. And so, Hancock continued to rage on for about an hour before Luffy could fully subdue her. She continued to demand that the monster showed itself, while Luffy moved her from the area. After taking almost an hour to calm Hancock down, Luffy sat on a boulder and was looking down at her, who had a stone in her hand. So, what am I supposed to do now? He asked. I'm going to infuse haki into this rock, and then throw it at you. I want you to cover that boulder you're sitting on with armament haki as well. Why am I doing this again? I already explained this to you. Before I can properly teach you, I must test how strong your haki is. Luffy used his finger to scratch the side of his face, with a confused expression. But wouldn't it be better for me to use haki on myself, and then you throw the rock? No! Whoa! Hancock's sudden shout knocked Luffy off the boulder. He quickly got up and looked at her. What would I do if my haki is stronger, and I end up hurting you? She looked really upset. It's alright if you hurt me, you know. Rayleigh did it all the time. What? Yeah. I got hit in the head every day. I almost drowned several times. I was buried alive at least twice. and I almost got eaten countless times. Wait, I did get eaten once, but I escaped before I was digested. Curse that Rayleigh. Even though he said that he would keep you safe, Hancock growled. Surely somewhere in the world Rayleigh was feeling a cold chill down his spine. But thanks to all that I've gotten stronger. So, I'm grateful for all of it. Luffy wore a big and innocent smile on his face. It was the same smile that thawed Hancock's ice-cold heart. Well, if you're grateful then I will leave it at that. Even the furious Hancock was no match for that warm smile. So, hit me with the rock. There's no need to worry. I'm tougher than I look. Luffy puffed out his chest as he declared that. Hancock, on the other hand, so manly. Luffy is so manly. I was wrong. Yes, you're allowed to hurt the ones you love if it's for their own good. Yes, it's called tough love. I'm not hurting him out of spite, I'm doing this to make him stronger, she resolved herself. Okay, I'll do it. Luffy smiled and said okay. Hancock lifted the rock and positioned herself to throw it. Luffy covered himself with haki and readied for impact. Hancock threw the rock as hard as she could and it shattered on Luffy's skin. Wow. Your haki is already this strong. Hancock was genuinely impressed. She had thrown the rock with such force that it could easily cut through a tree. But Luffy's body had withstood it with relative ease. So, what do you think? Amazing, right? If it was a year and a half ago that would have really hurt. Luffy energetically boosted the results of his training. It's shocking how much stronger you became in such a short time. I don't think that you need my help. Hancock looked as if she was sulking as she spoke. What's wrong? And Luffy surprisingly picked up on that. But Hancock hesitated to answer. I'm just a little sad that I can't be of much help to you when you need it the most. And here I am wasting your time and being a burden to you. Luffy didn't respond. He just looked at her emotionlessly. As I thought, maybe I shouldn't have come to the island. Hancock started to sulk even more as she held her head down. She could hear Luffy walking toward her. She squeezed her eyes shut and started to tremble as she glimpsed his feet. Here it is. He's going to tell me to get lost. Hancock's mind began to roam once again, but this time it wasn't something good. Luff, silence. Don't call my name out of that filthy mouth of yours. Hancock and handsome Luffy were standing face to face. But handsome Luffy didn't have the same gentle expression he would always have. He was furious and disgusted. You dared trick me and wasted my valuable time for your own self-gain. It isn't like that, Dash. Didn't I tell you to shut your mouth? Hancock tried to defend herself, but handsome Luffy shut her down with a low and intimidating tone. No matter what you say, it doesn't change the fact that you betrayed my trust. Hancock's body trembled with every word he spoke. She reflexively looked down at the ground as she held her shoulders. I guess I should have never expected better from a former pet. Those words caused Hancock to look up at handsome Luffy. Her eyes met with his, but the only thing she could see is the look of disgust and repulsion. Those eyes caused her heart to ache. You're nothing but a former slave, a former toy of the celestial dragons, and yet you dare to deceive me. Wait, Luffy, I don't want to hear the words of a worthless slave. Handsome Luffy turned his back to Hancock and slowly walked away. Luffy, Hancock stretched her hands towards him. Bye, false empress. Someone like you should disappear from the world. Luffy. She brought her hand back to her side and watched his back with dead eyes. I thought, you of all persons would be the last person to say something like that to me. Hancock was alone in the darkest. It wasn't long before tears fell from her eyes. Please, don't leave. Please don't leave me alone. I'm scared. Luffy, don't leave. Chop. Hancock, who was being devoured alive by her thoughts, was brought back to reality when she felt a sudden pain from the top of her head. She slowly looked up and saw a furious Luffy glaring at her. But something was different from the one she just imagined. Why do you keep saying stuff like that? I've already told you that you're someone important to me, but you keep saying negative stuff like that. What are you, Usopp? Hancock was genuinely confused by what Luffy said. It wasn't that she didn't know who the name belonged to. It was what Luffy was angry about. She was absolutely sure that he was going to tell her to leave or get angry at her for being useless. Chop. Why are you crying? Luffy shouted after karate chopping Hancock's head for a second time. Listen, Hancock. I'm going to say this for the last time. Luffy took a breath so deep that his chest grew 4 times in size. And then, Boa Hancock. You are important to me, and I owe you a lot. So, if you don't stop crying, I'm going to hit you for real. Luffy's shout was so loud his voice reached every living thing on the island. Hancock's body was trembling, but for a whole other reason. Luffy. She sounded as if she was squealing as she muttered his name. Luffy, who saw that she was crying for a different reason, walked up to her and suddenly get her. Lulu Luffy, Makino once told me that I should do everything I can to stop a girl from crying. She said, one way was to make them hold on to my most prized possession to show that I trust them. But I left my hat on the other side of the island. She said another way was to get rid of whatever was causing them grief. And if that didn't work, I should do this. Hancock stopped fidgeting and relaxed her body in Luffy's arms. You know, Hancock, I may have already told you this, but I was a bit lonely before you came. I'm not lonely anymore with you here. Luffy looked Hancock in the eyes and put on the purest smile Hancock has ever seen. Thank you, Hancock, for visiting me. It made me really happy. Those words blew away all of Hancock's inner struggles. Just to state, Hancock was a woman who wasn't above using deception to achieve her goals. In fact, you could say that she's a pretty ruthless woman. But it was a different case when she was in front of Luffy. A single lie would eat away at her heart forever, even if she herself didn't know it. And there's also the fear of Luffy secretly being disgusted by the fact that she's a former slave. Even though she knows he's not that type of person, the fear still remained lodged in her heart. To the eyes of many, Boa Hancock was a strong woman, no a strong person. But even the strongest person has their fears and doubts, so Hancock is no exception. However, Luffy just got rid of all the fears she hid away from everyone around her. And all he did was smile and accept her. She knows she wasn't the first woman Luffy accepted, and she definitely won't be the last. But she couldn't help feeling happy. She couldn't help falling more in love with him. Luffy, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for ever doubting you, please forgive me. What's there to forgive? You didn't do anything wrong. He continued to smile at Hancock while she tried her best to stop her tears. Let's get back to training. Right, teacher. No, not yet. I want to stay like this a bit longer. Hancock get the confused Luffy as tightly as she could. Hancock, I like this. I'm staying like this forever. Hancock spoke as if purring. On the other hand, Luffy, Makino said that this might happen, but I didn't believe it actually would. Ow. Hancock in her excited state was still using haki, so Luffy was feeling the full effect of her powerful, every bone-crushing second. Hancock, that hurts. Luffy suddenly felt a presence approaching him, and Hancock at an incredible pace. Is this? Before Luffy could guess what it was, it quickly showed itself. Roar! A giant monster came bursting from outside the forest, and stood in front of Luffy and Hancock. It's Boss C. Luffy shouted the simple name he gave the monster. It was four-legged, had brown fur, and a serpent's tail and face. It looked like the cross between a giant lion and a giant snake. The venom that fell from its mouth caused the ground to erode. Damn it! Hancock. Luffy used one of his arms and wrapped it around Hancock. Luffy, what are you? When did that get here? Hancock, who was lost in her own dream world, finally noticed the type of situation she was in. There's no time to explain. We can't run from this one, it's too fast. But I'm going to change locations to more open space. Rayleigh said that it's best to fight in a space I'm more comfortable with. Luffy, who wasted no time using his gear second, sped off as fast as he could. Just like he said, he was changing locations. He spoke to Hancock as he moved from tree to tree. Listen, Hancock. That thing is really strong, and it's going to take everything I have to beat it. So, you're saying you won't be able to protect me? Don't worry, I can protect myself. I'll show that monster what happens to those who interrupt our love time, Hancock declared loudly. They were close to an open area where the battle would take place. The monster was chasing them at an unimaginable speed. Hancock. Yes. Luffy and Hancock burst through the bushes. Luffy had released Hancock a second earlier, and she flipped in the air before landing gracefully. Luffy landed in front of her. Let's go! As to agree with him, the giant monster burst out of the forest, destroying everything in its path. The battle of Luffy and Hancock versus Boss C was about to begin. The giant beast released a deafening roar. It stared at its prey with eyes overflowing with bloodlust. Hancock, be careful of its drool. Rayleigh says it can instantly kill a sea king. I'll keep that in mind. The beast locked eyes with Luffy, and Luffy locked eyes with him as he swung his arm to the side. His blood pumped and steam emitted from his body. Eat this. Luffy used his gear second to instantly pop up beside the monster's face. Jet pistol. Luffy hit it with a lightning-fast punch. The sound of his fist hitting flesh echoed in the surrounding area. But even so, the beast barely flinched. Then how this? Hancock quickly ate her fingers and created a heart-shaped bow and arrow. Slave arrow. She aimed and fired heart-shaped arrows at the beast, confident that it will turn to stone. Its body flickered and the beast vanished. What? It reappeared in the air, evading the arrows. Hancock, look out! Hancock's eyes widened as the monster's jaws expand rapidly. It started spitting venom like a machine gun. Hundreds of venomous spit rained down on Hancock. The ground dried up, the trees melted, and only bones remained of the animals that got caught up in the attack. As for Hancock, thanks you, Luffy. She was airborne in Luffy's arms. In the nick of time, Luffy grabbed her and escaped into the air. I told you to be careful, that spit is extremely dangerous. They landed on a nearby tree branch. The monster had also landed. It searched for its prey and quickly found them. Its jaws quickly expanded once again. Here comes round 2. Luffy put Hancock down and was ready to move again. Luffy, I can manage on my own. So fight freely. Luffy saw the determination in Hancock's eyes and returned a smile. Okay, let's go, partner. Partner. Do you mean life partner? Are you proposing? Even in a time like this, Hancock was still Hancock. Luffy didn't answer and rushed towards the monster. He popped up in front of its stomach before it could spit its venom. He grinned and threw both arms behind his back. Jet bazooka. He hit the monster with another lightning-fast attack. The impact caused the monster to spit out the venom it was going to fire and fly a few meters back. Roar! It quickly recovered and searched for Luffy, but he was already gone. Up here, you beast! The monster heard a voice and tried to look up. But it was too slow. Hancock, who had jumped into the air and slammed her heel into its head. She delivered a falling axe kick. The kick forced the monster's head to slam into the ground. Its head bounced off the floor like a ball. It's not over yet. The monster peeped through the corner of its eye and saw Luffy with a giant black arm. Gear 3rd plus armament. The monster, who was still recovering from Hancock's kick, wasn't able to react in time. Elephant gun. Luffy used his giant arm coated in hockey to send the monster flying through the forest. It crashed and destroyed several trees. It lay motionless in the forest. I would ask if that did it, but there's no way it would be that easy, right? Hancock walked up beside Luffy, all while watching the monster. Yeah. It's not nearly enough. The monster sprung to its feet and vigorously shook its body. It's like it was shrugging off their attacks. What should we do now, Luffy? Just keep hitting it. Luffy quickly reactivated Gear 2nd and rushed at the monster. Roar! This time the monster didn't have any intention of letting Luffy do what he wanted. It also charged toward him. It was a battle of speed. Luffy stretched his arm behind him and it rapidly twisted around like a rope. Jet rifle. Luffy threw a punch. The monster countered it with a headbutt. A loud sound along with a strong gust spread across the area when they made impact. Damn it! The one who got flung back was Luffy. He crashed into a tree and broke it. How dare you do that to Luffy? Hancock angrily sprung forward and delivered a powerful kick to the monster's face. It barely budged, but the impact was obviously strong. She slid under its chin and kicked it again. The kick forced its head upwards. Roar! Hancock got ready to kick it again, but before she did, the monster swung its tail and swatted her away. Ugh! Hancock bounced off the ground a few times before colliding into a tree. Hancock, I am okay. Luffy and Hancock struggled to stand up again. Luffy wanted to further confirm Hancock's condition, but their opponent didn't let them rest. Its jaws expanded for the 3rd time, and this time it was able to shoot. Dodge Hancock. Luffy and Hancock used observation hockey to predict where to move to dodge the venom. But there was so much that it took their all. Luffy, how long can this thing spit venom for? Don't know. The last time I fought it, Rayleigh was the one who took it down, so you've never beaten it? No. But I'm stronger now. While dodging the venom, Luffy quickly closed in on the monster. He coated both arms in hockey while in Gear 2nd. Flames sprouted from both of them. Red Hawk Gatling gun. He threw countless red-hot punches at incredible speed. The punches all hit the monster head-on. The impact didn't only make its body jerk all over the place, but burned it at the same time. I won't be a burden to Luffy. Hancock, seeing an opening, quickly approached the monster from behind. Slave arrow won't be as effective since it's distracted by pain, but it should be able to petrify parts of it. Hancock turned the monster's back legs to stone with her powers. She shattered them with kicks, leaving it with only 2 legs. She then jumped on its back and used it as a foothold to jump in the air. This is for interrupting a precious moment for me and Luffy. Hancock coated her legs with hockey. She spun her body in the air at an incredible speed. Learn some etiquette. The spinning Hancock stomped into the monster's back. More specifically, his spinal cord. A crushing sound reached her ears. It was the sound of her breaking the monster's back. Roar! The monster roared out in pain as its body was forcibly bent into an irregular shape. Luffy, finish it. Thanks, Hancock. Luffy stopped punching the monster and jumped back into the air. He bit his thumb and blew himself up like a balloon. Gear third. He then forced the air into his right leg and hardened it with hockey. He slowly lifts the giant leg up, mountain axe, and then slammed it into the monster's head. Its entire body sunk into the ground and caused an explosion. Hancock, who had distanced herself away, saw the ground crack open. Amazing. He got really strong. She was surprised by Luffy's strength. When the dust cleared up, she could see the monster embedded in the ground. There was no doubt about it. They took it down. Hancock, are you okay? Luffy, who stood next to the defeated monster, asked her about her condition. Yes, I'm fine. Hancock quickly rushed beside him. Do you fight against these kinds of beasts every day? Nah. This is only the second time I've fought Boss C. Growl. I'm so hungry. Luffy lifelessly collapsed to the floor, seconds after his stomach growled. I've been fighting monsters all morning, I need meat. Hancock, hearing Luffy's complaints, looked at the defeated beast and got an idea. Luffy, what is it? Since we went through the trouble of beating it, how about I cook this monster for you? Really? Hearing Hancock's proposal, Luffy was instantly rejuvenated and quickly sprung to his feet. Why, yes. I told you that I wanted to cook for you one day, so. Hancock was cutely blushing from ear to ear. Thank you, Hancock. I really appreciate it. Luffy get Hancock and lifted her off the ground. Luffy. I'm happy, but I'm not a child. So, please put it down. Hancock was clearly embarrassed, but she had a big smile on her face. Sorry. Luffy put her down and smiled at her. And no. On second thought, I wouldn't mind it if you did it every once in a while. Sure. Seeing Luffy's energetic response made Hancock's face lit up. Okay. I'm going to do my best to make the ultimate dish for my beloved, Hancock announced happily. She didn't know it, but she was starting to look like a housewife. After they took down Boss C, Luffy found a nearby cave for them to sleep in. The cave's surprisingly luxurious. On the ceiling were beautiful rainbow-colored stones that illuminates the cave at night. On the sides were glassy see-through rocks, where you could see a glistening azure liquid flowing through them. The floor was strangely soft and moist. There were multiple colorful flowers growing inside. Some even glowed in the dark. The entire cave gave off a fairy tale atmosphere. It's beautiful. Hancock looked around the cave and was in awe. Really, it looks normal to me. Luffy, on the other hand, wasn't moved by the beautiful sight. Luffy, how did you find this place? I didn't. I was sent flying and crashed into here one day. I didn't expect to see something like this on this island. Is it safe to sleep here? Yep. The monsters are afraid of this place for some reason. Hancock picked a blue and gold flower and put at her nose. What a sweet fragrance. Hancock had a soothing smile on her face. Seeing her smile like that reminded Luffy of something Shanks once said to him. Listen, Luffy. A woman is at her most beautiful when she's holding a flower. Well, that's what my captain used to say. Ha! Even though he didn't know why, he felt like he could somewhat understand what he meant. Luffy, is something wrong? Hancock worriedly looked at Luffy when she saw that he was staring in space. No, it's nothing. Is that so? But this cave sure is beautiful. Hey, can we stay here for the rest of the week? Sure. I don't mind where I sleep. Hearing that, Hancock smiled brightly and started to think about how she can decorate the cave. While Hancock was busy planning out their new love nest, Luffy saw a pink and blue flower at his feet. He picked it, smelled it, for some reason tasted it, and ate it whole. Sweet. He picked another one and looked at Hancock. He watched her as she moved around the cave with sparkling eyes. And then, without a second thought, he made his arms stretched and placed the flower in her hair. Huh. Hancock stopped and stared blankly at Luffy. It looked like you liked the flowers, so I thought maybe you'd want to wear it. Hancock was still surprised and just continued to stare blankly. It looks good on you, Hancock, Luffy said with a smile. Thank you. Hancock's face was dyed red, and she shyly looked away, unable to look Luffy in the eye. Anytime. Luffy continued to eat the flowers, while smiling at her. At least warn me before you do something like that. Hancock spoke as if whispering. By the way, Luffy. What are we going to do tomorrow? Your hockey is already pretty strong, so do you want me to spare with you? I forgot. Luffy, who continued to chew on the flowers, thought about Hancock's suggestion for a bit, then remembered something. I'm not training tomorrow. Hancock was surprised when she heard that. Not training, why? Rayleigh says that I'm supposed to take a day off every few weeks to let my hockey recover. He said something about overusing it could slow down my progress. I don't get it, but I'll do it since he said so. When she heard that, Hancock remembers something Elder Nyan said while they were on the ship. Listen, Snake Princess. In order to get closer to Luffy, you need to spend as much time with him as possible. Isn't that why I'm going there in the first place, to spend time with him? No. What I meant was, you need to spend time with him only focusing on you. Try to make him put you first over everything else. How can I do something so selfish when he's training? Calm down. You just need 1 day. 1 day. Just 1 day of his undivided attention should be enough to capture his heart. And how am I going to do that? With a date. Date. What are you getting flustered for? Weren't you talking about marriage a while ago? That's far more serious. Just find an opportunity to go on a date with him. Trust me, it will work out. Luffy. What? Hancock, who recalled Elder Nyan's advice. Luffy called out to Luffy, who was still the flowers, as if he was addicted to it. Since you're not training tomorrow, can we go on a date? Hancock looked away from Luffy after she said that. Her face was completely red, and her trembled a little bit from the fear of rejection. Even though she knows that Luffy cherishes her, the fear of rejection and abandonment wasn't something easy to get over. Especially since this is the first time she's asked a man out on a date. But what Hancock failed to realize was, what's a date? Luffy was an idiot who was ignorant to anything involving romance. A date is when a man and woman who likes each other goes out to have fun. Or so I've heard. Even though she was shocked to hear his response, Hancock still gave Luffy a somewhat vague explanation. Okay, sure. Let's go a date. Are you sure? Yeah. If it's just going out, it's fine. Besides, I like you and I love spending time with you, he said with an innocent smile on his face. Hancock answered with a shy nod. Isn't innocence a beautiful thing? The next day, Hancock woke up in a good mood. She hummed as picked a bouquet of flowers. Hancock smelled the flowers and rubbed her face in them. That's when she noticed something. Isn't this the mood swing flower? I didn't know that they grew here. The mood swing flower was a flower that grew exclusively on Amazon lily. It's used to make medicine and skin ointments. However, high exposure to it can lead uncontrollable mood changes, hence its name. Now that I think about it, was this the flower Luffy put in my hair? Hancock recalled Luffy eating a large dose of it, and felt an ominous feeling. Luffy! Where are you, Luffy? She shouted towards the forest where she saw Luffy entering earlier. A few seconds later, she could sense something rushing towards her. What is it, Hancock? Are you hurt? And flustered Luffy popped up in front of her. He worriedly began examining her as if searching for wounds. When he didn't find any, he sighed in relief and said thank goodness. Hancock stared blankly at him for a while, and shook her head to snap herself out of it. Luffy, when you woke up this morning, did you feel any different? No, not at all. Are you sure? As you are beautiful. When I woke up, I was enlightened to how magnificent the world really is. Luffy started to move in a dramatic manner. I never realized how beautiful the morning sky was. I never realized how lovely the songs that birds sung were. And I failed to realize how breathtaking flowers were. Oh, what a sinful man I've been. Hancock watched Luffy with a dumbfounded look on her face. He definitely was affected by the flowers, and to extreme degree at that. While Hancock was thinking that, Luffy suddenly grabbed her hands and pulled her closer to him. But my greatest sin of all is failing to see the beauty of the goddess who stands before me. Yeah, Hancock couldn't keep with the sudden turn of events. Now, my goddess, let's embark on our date. Come, Hancock. Let's show everyone on this island your beauty. Luffy and Hancock were walking through the forest and entering open space. Luffy. Hancock was confused because of the sudden turn of events. What is it, my goddess? That wasn't the only reason. The whole time they've been walking, Luffy locked their arms together and was leading the way. What's going on? Am I dreaming? Luffy called me beautiful and is treating me like I'm his woman. No, this is definitely because of the flower. This isn't real. Don't be fooled by a fake. Hancock's mind was in conflict. Half of her wanted to enjoy the situation, while the other half was telling her not to be caught up in a fantasy. What's wrong? Are you tired? No. Wait. Without a second thought, Luffy lifted Hancock off her feet and held her in his arms. Caught off guard, Hancock started panicking until Luffy looked her in the eyes. Sure, don't say anything. If you're tired, I'll gladly carry you, even to the end of the Grand Line. Luffy looked at Hancock with gentle eyes and showed her a bright smile. I give up, thank you. I'll gladly go anywhere with you. It makes me so happy to hear that. In the end, Hancock gave in and decided to savor the moment. Luffy walked through the open area while holding Hancock like a princess. Being carried like this is more embarrassing than I thought, Hancock said shyly. Nonsense. You're a queen and should be treated like one. So, tell me, what do you wish to see? There is a lot of amazing stuff here. If you insist. Could you take me to a place that's filled with flowers? I know it's currently winter on the island, but I heard that the plant life here isn't affected by the weather. Also, that cave had some beautiful ones I'd never seen before. I'll like to see more. As you wish. As he finished saying that, Luffy started to run towards the river. When he saw that he was on the riverbanks, he jumped on top of a boulder while still holding Hancock. He made a quick scan of the area and found the path that leads to where he wanted to go. Luffy quickly headed towards that path. Hancock quickly looked at Luffy's face while he carried her. As I thought, I feel guilty for taking advantage of the situation. Luffy clearly isn't acting like himself, and here I am being pampered by him. Hancock grimaced when she reflected on her actions, however. There's no need to feel bad. Luffy suddenly spoke as if he was reading her mind. Hancock looked up at Luffy and saw that he had a smile on his face. I don't know why, but when I woke up this morning I felt different. So, I know I'm acting weird. It feels like I'm copying Sanji, he said while laughing. I don't know what's going on, but I do know that I promised to hang out with you today. And whether I'm acting like Sanji, Zoro, or even Chopper, it still doesn't change the fact that I want to be around you. Luffy smiled at Hancock. It was the same innocent and pure smile she fell in love with. It was then Hancock knew even if he was acting differently, he was still the same Luffy she fell in love with. So don't feel bad, let's have fun together. Yes. Hancock stopped grimacing and displayed a radiant smile in response to Luffy's suggestion. It didn't take long before they arrived at a flower field. Wow! They're all so beautiful. Luffy put Hancock down, and she marveled at the white sea of flowers. Even though snow covered the land, the flowers didn't wither or lose their beautiful colors. It was as if they were sending a message. A message saying our beauty isn't something so weak that it will die at the hands of a little snow. The white snow enhances their beauty. It's like I'm in a fairy tale. You really do like flowers, Luffy chipped in from the side. Yes. I used to grow a whole bunch of them when I was a child. I had a little garden with my sisters. It was really fun to grow them. Hancock didn't know it, but she looked like a child boasting about her new dolls, which looked really cute. Flowers, I've never really cared about them. Luffy stooped down and looked at the flowers. He picked one, and that's when he sensed something approaching them. Hancock was too engrossed in the winter flowers to notice. Luffy looked in the direction they were coming from, and there he saw them. Winter bees, a swarm of giant bumblebees. But these bees were different. Instead of the normal yellow and black, they were white and black. Not only that, they had a white stinger. The winter bees charged toward Hancock, who was too late to detect them. Don't you dare touch her! But before they did, Luffy entered gear second and began punching them away. The winter bees, seeing that Luffy was quickly killing them off, changed their tactic and used their stingers. Get lost, you're interrupting my important time with Hancock. Luffy had enough and used Conqueror's Haki on the bees to knock them out. The ones who weren't taken out were instantly killed by a punch from Luffy. When he saw that the nuisance had been gotten rid of, he ran over to Hancock. Hancock, are you okay? Did you get hurt anywhere? And no. I was just caught half guard, that's all. Sorry, I couldn't help. Seeing that Hancock was unharmed, Luffy sighed and smiled at her. Nah, you took care of all the beasts the other day. So, I guess it was my turn. Hancock embarrassingly looked away when she remembered how she acted when she first arrived here. Seeing her like that, Luffy stretched his hand out towards her. He was suggesting that she's to hold his hand. Hancock was surprised at first, and then got nervous, and then finally resolved herself and took the hand. When she did, Luffy smiled at her, and they started walking. However, after a few steps, Hancock felt that Luffy had released his hand. Luffy, she called out to Luffy, but he didn't answer. Luff, shut up. Hancock was shocked, and wondered if she heard him correctly. Luffy, didn't I tell you to shut up? Luffy said in a cold voice. Hearing him speak like that made Hancock's body tremble. Luffy ignored her trembling and looked at her like he was looking at a nuisance. Luffy, Luffy, Luffy. I know my name, so stop calling it so much. It's annoying. His eyes were blue. Hancock immediately knew that it was the effect of the flower. However, shut up, ugly. Luffy's words were destructive to her heart. Luffy looked at her with a disgusted expression. I can't believe I wasted my time with such a boring woman. What's so fun about flowers anyway? Luffy started to walk away from Hancock. Where are you going? Since when can you ask me any questions? Sigh. I'm going to find something to beat up. I'm pissed because I wasted my time on you, instead of focusing on my training. Without waiting for Hancock to respond, Luffy left, leaving Hancock alone. Hancock lost all the strength in her legs and fell to her knees. Why am I crying? Streams of tears ran down her face and her body trembled uncontrollably. A day that was supposed to be the best day of her life had taken a sudden turn for the worst. And she didn't know how to handle it. Minutes after Luffy left her alone, Hancock sat under a tree near the flower field. I wonder if Luffy is free of the flower effects by now. She had decided to stay away from Luffy until he was back to normal. Her reason for doing that was because she don't want to upset him further. No. That was just an excuse, she told herself. The truth was she couldn't handle the pain of abandonment, and chose to run away from the reality that was in front of her. No one was aware of this weakness more than Hancock herself. Sigh. Why did it turn out like this? I just wanted to capture Luffy's heart and attention. Was it wrong for me to want that? Hancock started to recall the events of their short date. She has been doing this nonstop for a while now. She smiled whenever she remembered how gentle Luffy was and sulked whenever she recalled his sudden aggressive attitude towards her. I guess it was wrong of me to use a side effect to my advantage. Hancock also constantly told herself she got what she deserved. She used a clearly odd Luffy to her advantage, and now karma was biting back at her. That was the argument Hancock has been constantly repeating to herself. This is so pathetic. It's only my third day and Luffy already hates me. Hancock held her head in her arms and shouted in frustration. No, that isn't right. It's the side effect of the flower. That Luffy was a fake. The real Luffy cherishes me. Hancock finally started to cheer herself up. So what if he's a little angry? He's still the Luffy I love. I won't be defeated by something as measly as a flower. As if remembering herself, Hancock quickly stood up. I'm not one to back down so easily. I like challenges, and making Luffy fall in love with me is the biggest challenge of them all. I came here for the purpose of accomplishing that. So, I can't back down now. Hancock quickly followed the path Luffy took when he left her. I am Boa Hancock, Empress of the Kuju tribe. The woman feared around the world as the Pirate Empress. Hancock recalled the title she wanted the most in the world, and with a fearless smile declared to the world. And above all, I am the future wife of Monkey D. Luffy. I am the future Pirate Queen. After reconfirming her resolve, Hancock hastily sought Luffy out. It didn't take long for her to find him. In fact, it was pretty obvious if you checked your surroundings even a little. There was a section of the island that was freshly destroyed. In that area lay countless broken trees, countless corpses of different kinds of beasts, and a trail of bones. Hancock saw the beast that caused this meaningless destruction. Luffy, sitting around a fire, surrounded by blood-stained snow, and munching on freshly cooked meat, was of course Luffy. In the short time he separated from Hancock, he had ransacked a section of the island. She didn't know if it was also a side effect of the flower, or if it was proof of his strength. But Hancock knew one thing. The current Luffy was no different from a beast. What do you want? Luffy sensed Hancock's presence, and spoke to her coldly. However, Hancock didn't falter. I'm here to see you. Didn't I say I didn't want to see your ugly mug? Yes, you did, but I have no obligation to listen to anything you say. The veins in Luffy's face started pulsating. Oh, woman. That's some attitude you got there. He stood up and walked over to Hancock. He looked her in the face and glared at her. Hancock returned a glare of her own. I won't listen to anything you say. You fake. Luffy got even angrier. He looked like he was going to explode any minute now. However, Hancock still didn't back down. Even though it pains her to glare at him, she was also angry at the fact that something like a flower could cause a rupture in their relationship. To Hancock, the current Luffy was an existence she couldn't accept. You're sick and not in your right mind. So, I'm going to stick to you even more than before. Whether you like it or not. Hancock was looking down on the current Luffy. He realized that. Then if you won't listen, I'll just force you to. With an angry voice, Luffy entered gear second. Seeing that, Hancock also entered a fighting pose. I really don't want to fight you, but if I leave you alone like this you'll get yourself killed. There were numerous dangerous beasts on this island. Luffy himself said that he was wary of a lot of them. However, the current Luffy lacked awareness. This means it's highly likely that he'll pick a fight with an opponent far stronger than him, and could end up severely hurt, or worst case scenario, dead. That was something Hancock couldn't allow to happen no matter what. Even if Luffy comes to hate her, she didn't care. She would still love him unconditionally. With such a resolve, Hancock stood before Luffy. The two silently glared at each other, and just when they were going to spring at the other, "Something's coming!" They could sense something enormous rushing towards them. It didn't take long for it to make its presence known in the air. Bzzzzzzzzzzzzz. What the hell is that? Floating in the air, and projecting a shadow on the ground, was a gigantic winter bee. However, this winter bee was extremely different from the ones Hancock saw before. First of all, it had two stingers, a white one and a golden one. Its fur was a perfect mix of white and gold. Its wings were rainbow-colored. And the strangest feature of all was a crown-shaped mark on its abdomen. "Oh, you're finally here, Queen!" Luffy, who spot the monster, spoke joyously. "Finally here, don't tell me you called that thing here. Why else would it be here?" Luffy answered in a sarcastic tone. "That's Queen. The queen bee of the winter bees. The last time I fought it, I was also killed in an instant. Old man Rayleigh had to save my life." Luffy displayed a savage and angry smile, unbefitting his face. "That was humiliating. So I killed a few of her children to call her out." Unlike normal bees who protect their queen, winter bees were protected by their mother, who also acted as their queen. The quickest way to lure her out was to kill several of her children, however. "Are you insane? I can tell just from looking at that thing that it's extremely strong." "Shut up, and don't get in my way." Luffy, who was already in gear second, coated his limbs in haki and rushed towards the giant bee. But before he could even throw a punch, the bee disappeared. How it vanished. Luffy was dumbfounded. That's when, "Luffy, it's attacking from your left." Hearing Hancock's warning, Luffy quickly glanced to his left, but it was too late. Bzzzzzzzzzzzzz. The queen bee golden stinger quickly extended and pierced Luffy in the side. Guh! Luffy groaned and coughed up blood before falling to the ground. Seeing that, the bee disappeared and reappeared again. This time it was planning to impale him from the front. The retracted stinger quickly extended, but this time, "How dare you do that to Luffy?" Hancock dashed forward and redirected its aim with a kick. The stinger was logged into the ground, and the bee was momentarily stuck. "Get lost!" Not missing that opening, Hancock delivered an even more powerful kick at the bee's head. The force of the kick blew the bee away, and the stinger that was stuck broke off. "Luffy!" Hancock hastily rushed to Luffy's side. "Ugh, didn't I tell you not to get in my way?" Luffy groaned and forced a voice out. Hancock could see that he was bleeding heavily. She immediately ripped a part of her dress and wrapped it around Luffy's wound. "This will lower the bleeding for now. We need to move away from here and search for some medical herbs." Without waiting for him to complain, Hancock lifted Luffy over her shoulder and started to run. The reason why she urgently left the area made itself clear moments later. Explosion. Bzzzzzzzzzzzzz. The queen bee, who seemed even angrier, started to wreck the forest with its stingers. It even created strong wind with its giant wings that uprooted some of the trees. It moves so fast that it's like it can vanish in thin air. I can barely track it with haki. It looks Luffy's haki couldn't keep up with its speed. She looked at the bee and started to analyze it. It can retract and extend its stinger. Its wings cause strong wind, and it seems highly intelligent. It's an extremely dangerous creature. She ran with all her might. However, the queen bee soon spotted her. It didn't chase her. It just positioned its body in the air as if aiming at them. Is it going to extend its stinger again? Can it reach this far? But the queen bee did something even more surprising. It shot its white stinger as if firing a gun. Wah! Hancock quickly evaded the giant bullet stinger, while holding Luffy. By the time she turned around, the queen bee already had a new white stinger. Isn't that just cheating? The queen bee continuously fired its stingers at the fleeing Hancock, until she was no longer in range. She's not pursuing us. Hancock couldn't understand why the angry bee stopped its pursuit but felt lucky that it didn't. It didn't take long for Hancock to return to the cave that she slept in with the injured Luffy. Surprisingly, he didn't make one complaint while they were running. "Luffy, I'm going to gather some medicinal herbs. Stay here until I get back." Hancock, who was about to run out of the cave, was stopped by a slight pull on her dress. "Luffy." She turned around to look at what was the matter. "Lean. Sorry, I couldn't hear you." Hancock thought Luffy was feeling too weak to speak louder and drew closer to him. "Don't leave me alone," he spoke softly. Hearing that caught Hancock off guard. "I won't be long. I only need to collect some herbs, and—" "No! Don't leave me alone. I'm scared." As scared. Hancock, who has never seen Luffy afraid of anything before, stared at him in shock. And then she saw it. Blue. Luffy's eyes turned blue once again. It was a sign that he had another mood change. Please, don't leave me alone. Mess. While staring at the timid Luffy in wonder, one thought floated in Hancock's mind. This is surprisingly cute. Inside their new love nest, Hancock was sitting in front of a timid Luffy. She had found some medical herbs and treated his wounds. I'm glad I was taught all trades of the country in order to become a worthy empress. If it wasn't for that, Luffy might have died. Hancock sighed in relief when she thought that. After his wounds were treated, Luffy separated himself from Hancock in a hurry, and sat in a corner by himself. He held head down most of the time, but would peek at her every now and then. It was like he wasn't sure if he was allowed to look at her, and turned away every time their eyes met. Cute. That was all Hancock said while enjoying the timid Luffy's actions. This was the first time Hancock has ever seen Luffy act like this, and found it strangely refreshing. Luffy's body flinched when Hancock. He slowly lifted his head to look at her. Why yes, I just want to him. Hey, are you hungry? If you like, I could go get some food for us. And no, you don't have to trouble you. He's rejecting food. How strong is that flower? Hancock was shocked that Luffy denied food since she knows that he was always eating. Hey, are you sure? Why yes. Hancock frantically got closer to Luffy. He constantly tried to distance himself from her until his back hit the wall. Seeing that she was frightening Luffy, she stepped back. This is a problem. The current Luffy is cute, but he can't survive on this island. The flower's effects last for up to at least days, so Luffy will be defenseless during that time. Hancock looked at Luffy, who once again sat in the corner fidgeting. Seeing him like that tingled something in Hancock's heart. I have no choice. I'll protect the cute Luffy from all dangers. What tingled was her maternal instincts. The current Luffy was the equivalent of a helpless child, which was something Hancock wasn't used to. It made her swell up with the desire to protect and hold him tight. Hancock approached Luffy with a strange vigor. Her breathing was heavy, her eyes shone a dangerous light, and her mouth was watering. She looked like a predator preparing to sink her teeth into her prey. Luffy, who was faced with such a Hancock, looked like he was searching for a means to escape. I'm scaring him. I got to calm down. Hancock realized her mistake and fixed her posture. This situation reminds me of a conversation I once had with Granny. Hancock recalled a time when she was alone with Elder Nyan in her throne room. Snake Princess, how would you feel if Luffy wasn't as strong-willed as he is? What's with the sudden interrogation? Old woman, has life already become meaningless for you? If so, you're always welcome to play with the panther. Can't you go one day without threatening to feed me to the panther? Why are you suddenly probing into my love life? It can't be. Are you trying to steal Luffy from me? How did a simple question result in man stealing? Elder Nyan sighed and then continued. It's important. It could help improve your relationship with Luffy. Is that so? I like Luffy for many reasons. His strong will is of course one of them, as I expected. Snake Princess, you're the type that likes to be dominated by your lover. Dominated? I'm not an animal, you know. I didn't mean it like that. Strong-willed women are always proud and dignifying. Because of that, a lot of them tend to always get what they want. Take you for example. What's wrong with me getting what I want? I'm beautiful after all. Hancock spoke proudly. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have to admit getting everything you wanted was a bit boring from time to time. Well, that's true. That's why, when you met Luffy, who was the first man to oppose you in a long time, you couldn't help but fall in love with him. That, and he showed you and your sisters kindness even though you tried to kill him. I won't deny that. There's a stereotype that all strong-willed women want a man who can dominate them. However, there are strong-willed women who fell for someone weaker than them because of their desire to protect. What are you implying, Granny? I'm just curious. What if Luffy wasn't as strong-willed, but showed you the same kindness he did before? Would you still have fallen for him? At that time, Hancock didn't answer immediately, but this time she was certain. A timid Luffy is also great. Either way, I would have fallen for him. We're soulmates after all, Hancock thought to herself as she enjoyed the new flavor of Luffy. I'm sorry if I scared you just now. Hancock stood up and walked towards the cave's entrance. Why, you're leaving? I'm just going to get something to eat. But I said I'm not hungry. I know, I'm getting something for myself. So, don't worry, I'll be back soon. Hancock somewhat figured out how Luffy's current personality works. If she's too pushy, he'll distance himself from her. So, she needs to make him open up at his own pace. If I see anything you might like, I'll bring it back for you. Saying that, she left the cave. Of course, Hancock wasn't going to gather food for herself. It was for Luffy. The current Luffy has a reserved personality, so he'll decline if she outright told him she's going to get food for him. So, she used the guise of getting food for herself to gather food for him. A few minutes later, Hancock returned with of food that could barely fit in the cave. She was sweating, which was a sign that she had hurried to gather them. Hancock casually sat beside Luffy with the sack of food beside her. She took up fruit and started eating it, without saying anything to Luffy. Hancock looked happy every time she took a bite. She could tell that Luffy was looking at her with his mouth watering. When Hancock looked at him, he quickly looked away. Hancock thought his behavior was adorable. She felt like she wanted to tease him. Hancock didn't realize it, but there was a switch in their relationship. Hancock became the aggressive one, and Luffy became the timid one. It was a complete change from their usual roles. Luffy, are you sure you don't want any? It will help your wounds heal, you know. Hancock spoke with a teasing tone. And no, I don't want to bother you. I see. Hancock finished eating and stood up. Then I'm throwing away the rest. I'm full, and you said you don't need any. So, of course I'm going to throw it away. Wait, it's not like it's spoiled or anything. That's true. It's a waste to just throw it away. Right. Luffy had a desperate look on his face, which made Hancock smile teasingly. I know. I'll feed it to the beasts. Hancock took up the sack of food and turned her back, and tried to exit the cave. Wait, but Luffy blocked Hancock's path by stretching his arms wide apart. I'll eat it. There's no way I'm letting you waste so much food on those monsters. All of his timidness disappeared in an instant, and his true nature had temporarily surfaced. If you insist that much, then okay. But only on one condition. How is it, Luffy? Comfortable, right? Yeah. Hancock was sitting in one corner of the cave, and Luffy was eating fruits while his head was resting in Hancock's lap. It was a lap pillow. The condition that Hancock proposed was that Luffy rested his head on her lap while he ate. Her intention was to tease him, but Luffy immediately accepted her offer, thus resulting in the current situation. This is bad. I didn't expect him to agree to it with his current personality. Oh no, my heart is beating too fast. She had unintentionally cornered herself. She looked down at Luffy, but he didn't seem to mind the lap pillow. He was too engrossed in eating. I overdid it. I teased him too much because he was so cute. Now I'm the one who's embarrassed. I knew I shouldn't have done something I'm not used to. Hancock was panicking in her head about the situation she herself created. She was panicking, but she didn't regret it. Hancock felt like got closer to Luffy. Even though he was under the effects of a flower, she still enjoyed being with him. And it looked like Luffy felt the same way. Well, at the moment at least. Thinking that, Hancock began to miss the original Luffy. She liked teasing him, but deep down she prefers to be the timid one. She loves Luffy the most when he's assertive and strong-willed. That's the reason why in her fantasies she always submits to an assertive Luffy. Looks like Granny was right. Deep down Hancock wanted to be dominated by Luffy. She wanted to become his, and only his. She wanted him to force his will on her. But Luffy wouldn't do that. That's why she fell in love with him. Kind and strong-willed. That's the Luffy she fell in love with. While Hancock was thinking that, she realized Luffy had fallen asleep. He must be tired. After everything that happened today, Hancock took a glance outside and realized the sun had already set. Hancock herself didn't feel sleepy yet. In fact, her heart was still beating fast with Luffy's head in her lap. However, she decided to let him remain the way he was. Hancock spent her third night with Luffy, watching him sleep until she fell asleep herself. To her that alone was bliss. Luffy. Hancock woke up the next morning and realized Luffy wasn't next to her. She looked around and spotted something in a corner of the cave. It was limp, drowning in a black aura, and looked like it lost all hope. Hancock cautiously approached the personification of despair. Luffy. Luffy's body went limp all the way down to the ground when Hancock called his name. It's hopeless. It's all hopeless. Luffy spoke with a low and pitiful voice. It made Hancock concerned. What's wrong? What's the meaning of life? Hancock looked at Luffy with dumbfounded expression. She didn't expect to hear such a question from him. We all die anyway. Just like Ace and Sabo. He sounded like an overly emotional teen. It was definitely the effect of the flower. Luffy, sigh. Living is so troublesome. I even tried committing suicide, but it didn't work. Suicide? Yeah, I tried hanging, but my neck just kept stretching. I tried jumping off a cliff, but it didn't even hurt. I would try drowning, but that's probably going to hurt, so I gave up. Sigh. Suicide is such a pain. Luffy causally spoke a series of dangerous sentences, which made Hancock's head spin. Luffy, I don't want you to do anything like suicide again. Ah, I wish I was born a fly. Then I would die a couple of days after I was born. Luffy ignored Hancock and continued to negatively and lazily complain. He was like an ambitionless person, whose only reason he's still alive is because he's too lazy to properly commit suicide. And the type to stay home and complain all day. In other words, a real pain in the ass, I swear. When I get home, I'm issuing a ban and eradication on all mood swing flowers, Hancock thought. She still didn't know him long, but she can tell that the current Luffy will be the most troublesome. Luffy, aren't you supposed to resume your training today? Luffy told Hancock that he was only taking a day off from training to rest. That one-day period is up. Even though he underwent personality changes in the last hours, Hancock couldn't allow him to waste his time lazying around, training not doing it. Too much trouble. I just want to lay here and wither away like a dried-up flower. Wow. So negative. Then what about becoming stronger so that you can protect your friends? The lump of negativity finally turned his head and looked at her. I'm still going to protect them. Well, at least he still cherishes his friends. Over the events of yesterday, Hancock was able to confirm that Luffy was still the same, but was only in a drunken state. The flirty drunk, the angry drunk, the emotional drunk, and finally, the gave up on all hope drunk. Luffy has experienced all four of these states. I want to protect them, but at the same time, life is too tiresome. Brook is lucky. He got to die and come back again. I want to be a talking skeleton too. Hancock didn't know how to deal with someone like this, so she just stared at him. What should I do? He's completely unmotivated. Huh? While she was trying to figure out a way to motivate Luffy, Hancock sensed that they were suddenly surrounded. No more than. Hancock was reminded that this was an island that didn't sleep. The monsters will continuously try to dominate each other. So, it wasn't a place they could relax for long. But why are they surrounding the cave? Luffy said that monsters tend to avoid this cave, so why now? As if to answer her question, the ground suddenly started shaking. An earthquake. But that wasn't it. The ground inside the cave started to heat up. The walls started oozing a slimy liquid. The stones on the ceiling lost all of its light. And a foul smell was coming from deep within the cave. It can't be. The cave is alive. The cave that didn't have a presence before now feels like the insides of a great beast. Luffy! Hancock grabbed Luffy by the collar and quickly ran out of the cave. The cave entrance was closed shut by sharp fangs, not even moments later. Hancock stared in shock as the cave started to undergo a sudden change. The rocks covering it began to crumble, and hard black scales could be seen. It began to raise higher, accompanied by the ground being ripped open. Hancock watched as limbs so big that they looked like a completely different giant monster raised from out of the ground. Its claws were red as if they were stained in blood. Its eyes were gold and ferocious. Its fangs looked like they could rip apart anything in this world. Its scaly tail was so long that looked like it measures a mile. What the hell is that thing? Hancock could finally speak only after the beast made its presence known. Oh, it's King. I was wondering where he went. So, he was sleeping this past year. Luffy spoke nonchalantly as he looked at the beast with uninterested eyes. King Luffy, what is that demonic beast? Its name is King. Like Boss C and Queen, it's one of the bosses of the island. However, he's probably the strongest monster here. It even gave Rayleigh a really hard time. He kept complaining that if he was just a few years younger then it would have been a piece of cake. He sounded really frustrated. It is the strongest beast on the island. Hancock could instantly believe it. The first thing that came to her mind when she saw the black scaly monster was death. Lou Dash! Hancock was going to call out to Luffy, but she then noticed that something was targeting him. She quickly turned around and blocked an attack with her leg. It was a golden stinger. Queen! It was the Winter Bee Queen. It looks like she was still trying to kill Luffy for what happened yesterday. Queen distanced herself when she saw that her surprise attack failed. When Hancock looked around, she saw that they were surrounded by winter bees. Not only that, there were dozens of other monsters surrounding King. It was like they all came to pay their respects. The monster that blocked out the sun didn't make a sound after it woke up. It just stared at the other beast with uninterested eyes. Rayleigh says King seems to be some kind of wingless dragon. He said that it's really prideful and doesn't attack those that look weak. So you're saying that it thinks that we aren't worth the trouble and will just ignore us? I should be glad. But instead, I'm offended. When Hancock glared at it, the monster just turned around and left. Hancock was both relieved and frustrated by that. But she didn't have the luxury to stay that way for long. Bzzzzzzzzzzz, roar! The winter bees and the other monsters were closing in on Hancock and Luffy. I see. So the reason Queen turned back yesterday was that she fears the king. And now that he's gone, she's going to have her revenge, huh? Hancock looked at monsters and gritted her teeth. All of you plan to gang up on Luffy when he's defenseless over my dead body. All the monsters charged all at once. Hancock met them head on. Know your place. She kicked bees that attacked her from her right and turned them into stone. A pack of snow wolves pounced at Luffy, who was behind her. She cut in and attacked them with lightning-fast kicks. A gorilla tried to sneak up behind her, but she quickly spun around and sent it flying with another kick. Slave arrow. She jumped in the air and sent a shower of heart-shaped arrows at the surrounding beasts. A round of them turned to stone, but more was approaching fast. There's no end to this. The more I take down, the more keep coming. Not to mention, even while fighting, Hancock made sure to watch Queen's movement. She floated in the air and watched from above while the other monsters ganged up on Hancock. That thing is smart. It's waiting for the right opportunity to strike. If that's the case, Luffy, we're running. Hancock grabbed Luffy's hand and dashed off. The beasts followed. Luffy wasn't running with all of his strength, so Hancock had to drag him. Luffy, I understand that you're still under the influence of the flower, but I need you to help me out. I want to, but isn't this situation already hopeless? Even if we beat these guys, there's no way to beat King. So, what's the point? Luffy still lacked the motivation to do anything. We can beat him. If it's the two of us, it won't be a problem. Two saber-toothed tigers pounced from behind a tree and tried to ambush Hancock. She kicked one in the face, but the other one was able to bite her leg. Ugh! Slave arrow. She turned it to stone and broke it. She continued to run with Luffy, but she was moving too slow. My leg hurts. We can't outrun them like this. Hancock quickly assessed that the monsters would catch up to them if they continued this way. The two of them can't escape. Hancock was injured and Luffy was not himself. Not to mention that a really powerful beast was waiting to strike them down. It was the worst scenario. One of us needs to stall them while the other escapes. Only one can escape. The other will most likely perish. Who should abandon who? Hancock didn't even need a second to make her decision. Listen, Luffy. Only one of us will probably escape. The other needs to sacrifice themselves, then throw me at them. I don't want to live anyway. No way. Hancock stopped and looked at Luffy. Listen to me, Luffy. You're going to protect your friends in the new world, right? You're going to go on a lot of amazing adventures and meet a lot of amazing people. You can't afford to be killed here. Hancock smiled at Luffy and spoke as if to let the whole island hear her. You're the man who will become the pirate king. So you need to live. Even if I can't be your queen. Hancock hit Luffy on the forehead. Before he could respond, she grabbed him by one hand and threw with all of her strength. Wah! Hancock. Luffy was sent flying far away. When she sensed that he was out of the danger zone, Hancock turned and faced the stampede of beasts charging at her. Even though I said all of that, I still didn't dare to steal his lips. Love is strange, huh, Granny? Winter bees, gorillas, bears, tigers, elephants, wolves, etc. All of these and more were approaching Hancock. However, she didn't cower in fear or shed a tear. She smiled fearlessly at them and declared, I am Boa Hancock, Queen of Amazon Lily, one of the 7 warlords of the sea, the Pirate Empress, and captain of the Kuja Pirates. Her smile turned into a self-mocking grin. But none of those titles matter. Because the one title I wanted the most was outside my reach. If you asked her if she had any regrets, she would surely say she had a lot. But none of that matters now. So, I'm going to be the immature brat I really am and throw the biggest tantrum in history. Hancock stood her ground without hesitation or fear. Only love in her heart. Love is a battlefield. As if chanting a mantra, Boa Hancock's battle of desperation had begun. Thanks for watching this video. You really enjoy this video. Like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification. Don't forget to support and follow kodyakcombs for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story link in the description. See you in the next video. Goodbye.